Welcome to this episode of Better Life. Music it's an amazing thing. It's one of those things that just touches the heart. And I believe that God uses it to reach us in ways that just activate the part of us that recognizes and listens to Him. My guest today is Handerson Pontel, and you are a pianist.
Correct.
That this has become your ministry.
It has. It's grown to be a ministry for me.
And how long have you been doing this?
I've been playing the piano since about 10 years old, so it's been a while, so 27 years.
So you started pretty young. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Glendale, California.
Okay.
But I was born in Brazil, came when I was about 5 years old with my family, my brother, my sister, my mom, and my dad. And we grew up in Southern California, and as time went by, we always grew up in church, always singing. My parents were very, very musical people, and I got an opportunity to have my mom and my dad be financially capable to have me get piano lessons. Mm-hmm. So I was able through them, thankfully, and through my piano teacher, Alex, to help me, and Roger. I had two piano teachers. They, molded me.
Right.
And both of them had two different styles, and I was able to take best of both worlds, I like to say, and kind of make my own little style of piano.
So music has always been part of your life.
Oh yeah.
Always.
Since day one. Yeah.
And did you enjoy performing? Was that something that attracted you to it? What does playing mean to you?
Playing is a way of, I call it my stress reliever, to be honest with you. A lot of people ask, you should live off of music. And I always find that when you're at work, although you should love your job, and I love my job a lot, but you should have a stress reliever. And if that's my job, I want to wake up in the morning and want to play the piano, not have to play the piano. And that's where I feel like it's a way of expressing myself, praising the Lord. It's just so relieving, and I enjoy it a lot.
Was it always that way?
I have to say, no, it wasn't. As a kid, you want to hear a song and you're like, I want to play that song. But then when somebody tells you, okay, well, let's learn how to play it. No, just teach me how to play that song. Well, if I teach you how to play the piano or learn how to read music, you can play any song you want. And that's where it comes in, where you don't want to spend the time. No kid wants to spend time practicing or doing homework, and piano was like a chore.
Right.
So my parents, I make this joke, but my parents found a clever way of punishing me, where if I misbehaved, they'd be like, okay, well, go practice the piano for half an hour. And my dad would tell me, I'd go up to him and I'd say, hey, has half an hour passed? And my dad would look at his watch and he'd be like, no, you still got 20 minutes, but I'd be playing forever. So I learned how to tell time real fast. Let's just say that.
Well, I think about that. I'm a parent. I have 3 boys, and I would worry that using something you love as a punishment, that could backfire. But in your case, it sounds like it actually built your interest.
It was, how they had that positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement. It was a mixture of that with, I grew up in churches where they didn't have musicians, piano players and stuff like that. So another reverse psychology my dad would say is, I would have basically a recital every Sabbath. So a Saturday, we would decide what song we would be singing the following Saturday. On Mondays, usually I had piano lessons. So I would give those songs to my piano teacher. He would help me out and try to see, this is what you got to do and all that stuff. So I would have 1 week to prepare for it. And then on Sabbath, I would have my recital for the church to sing along.
Right.
And if I wasn't going to be able to get the song, my dad would be like, well, I guess the church is going to have to sing a cappella. We're not going to have music. And it was that pressure.
That's a little bit of guilt trip going on there.
But thankfully, the church was very welcoming, and they always praised me at the end. And I feel like when kids come to church, or anybody, it doesn't have to be a kid, it could be anybody, but come in and wholeheartedly do something and they get recognition for it, it kind of motivates them to want to keep doing it, And then I started enjoying that, not the praise, but the recognition, or hey, thank you for the effort. Making part of a team and see how happy it made people, and just being a part of the project that would be like, hey, I was part of this church service that went really well, and then you started getting asked to do a special song, a special number, and then you work on this piece, and after all that hard work, you can perform it, and it's like, man, it's great feeling. So it became a punishment that turned into a pleasure that now is it's part of my life.
Right. It just kind of
live without piano.
becomes part of who you are.
Yeah, it's torture not to be able to play. I work as an orthopedic technician, so I put cast on people, braces and splints and stuff like that. And ironically, a month after I got my license to do my job, I broke my wrist.
Oh, man.
And I had to have a cast on for 2 months. And it was a cast that incorporated my thumb. And I was giving piano lessons at the time, and it was so frustrating to not be able to play the piano because my thumb. And I was like, man, I just can't wait to be able to play. And it was that's when I really realized, man, I need the piano. I need music. You know,
Right.
It was a punishment.
Right.
That was the punishment, not being able to play.
Man, it just takes me down so many different routes here. My youngest son, Elliot, he's 12 years old, and I love belonging to a church that encourages involvement and engagement.
Oh, yes.
And because of that, it builds a willingness in you to participate. You end up feeling like you're part of it instead of just, a pew warmer.
Correct.
So that sounds like that was kind of your experience as well, just being involved, being engaged.
What helped was the fact that some of the churches we went to didn't have any musicians, and then other churches had really good musicians, but they were very humble, and they would write chords down or music that I would play on like a keyboard or a synthesizer, and I would be able to join them.
Right.
And it was nice to be able to learn from the people who knew a lot more at the time and were able to guide me and give me pointers, and it just felt really nice that it wasn't like a little clan or a group that you can never join.
Right.
And I think that that's super important. You go to a church that's on fire, you can tell that there's really good music in that church. That's how I see it.
But it's a music it's a culture where you're mentoring. Sometimes you can have personalities involved that it has to be this way, and I'm the only one that can do it or whatever. And so there's no opportunity for growth within that community.
And I feel like you lose an opportunity to have somebody who had the potential to go somewhere or be so much more, and that was a lost maybe opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you may suffer through, maybe they play the trumpet and you get those squeals and whatever else. But again, we're a developmental church, right? Where we want to always be developing people into what God has given them.
I agree with you 100%. You might have somebody who might get that squeak or that squeal, but who are we? We're nothing compared to how the angels sing. So if we really think about it, if you're at that mindset of like, this is not good enough to sing at this church, it really frustrates me, because if that kid is doing it wholeheartedly, or that person who really has an effort for it, and who are we to be like, that's not good enough for God. God does not enjoy that, So we got to think of it as we pale compared to the praise and worship he receives in heaven. But he doesn't care about perfection. He cares about our heart and the time and effort we put into doing it for his glory and honor.
Amen.
So I think that's a way to think.
Amen. So you grew up in the church, and as music became more and more of your life, and you grew up, tell me about your family now. You're married, you have a child. Tell me about your family.
I do. I've been married now. It's going to be, next month will be 11 years with my wife, Marlene, beautiful wife, and my amazing son, Luca. He's 3 years old, and he is, you can tell he's part of a musical family. We had a 4-hour drive here, and our son asks for music, and it's great because he'll be playing toys and whatever he's doing, he's always humming and singing. But he'll be singing, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. He'll be singing all these hymns and worship songs. And on the way over here, he's a big Gaither vocal band fan.
Very
and
good.
For a 3-year-old, it kind of surprises my wife and I, because he's asking for these adult songs, and he's just singing really loudly, and we're just jamming in the car on the way over here. So we had 4 hours of just singing and worshiping, and he asked for a lot of replays, so we got to listen to a few songs over and over again. But I'd rather replay a whole bunch of religious music than any other song anyway. So it's pretty awesome. So I hope that it doesn't have to be piano, but as long as he wants to be in the church singing. My wife plays the ukulele, and we do worship together at the church. So it's really nice to be able to be married to someone who's not just a bench warmer,
right,
and gets up and sings and praises along, so we can't wait for him to start joining us.
Right. And my understanding, piano wasn't your first instrument either.
It was not. The flute was, there's a few reasons. The flute, some of the best flutists, I guess flautists.
Yeah.
They are men. But I just didn't think it was a man enough instrument, one. And two, I don't do well with like staring at somebody or people. When you play the flute, you got to stare at the audience kind of. And when you're playing the piano,
You're
man,
just in the piano.
You could be
yeah.
sleeping, chatting, talking. I don't see it. So it's a little easier. I feel more comfortable. But the piano is also something I feel like you can share a lot more styles of songs. The piano, you can play classical, blues, jazz, or, a whole bunch of different styles. And usually it's the instrument that accompanies other instruments. So it's kind of hard to play the flute by yourself. You need like some sort of like accompaniment, stuff like that. So I feel like the piano gave a little bit more.
So your son's into Gaither. How would you describe your style of music?
I like Southern gospel music. I absolutely love Southern gospel music. My favorite piano player was Anthony Berger, who played for the Gaither vocal band. I like piano players like Anthony Berger, Dino. So I really enjoy their music, and I think that's all I listen to in my car. So I'm a big Southern gospel. I feel like that's what really makes me happy.
Right.
I enjoy it a lot.
And it is a very happy style of music. It's just praising
good
God.
quality music.
Yeah.
And
So obviously you're not just working and playing the piano. What other things do you enjoy doing? Do you enjoy traveling or hobbies?
Being born in Brazil, you kind of come with the default setting of loving soccer.
Okay.
So I'm a big soccer fanatic. Too much, actually. I need to contain myself sometimes. And
The real football.
The real football, correct. Every 4 years, I ask my wife, I'm like, even though throughout the years I watch a lot of soccer, but every 4 years there's a World Cup. And I was like, for 1 month, it's going to be soccer nonstop. So I really enjoy it. But thankfully, she plays soccer with me. We have teams that we play with, like recreational soccer and stuff.
Right.
So that's a lot of fun. We do enjoy traveling a lot. We get to go to a lot of different churches that invite me to play. So one of the joys we have is getting to see other churches.
Right.
And we tend, being her especially, growing up in a very small church, the smaller the church, we enjoy it a little bit more because it's more family-like.
Right, right.
So, but we base churches on, we grade them based on their potlucks.
Oh, there you go.
we come back to a lot of churches that have good potlucks.
Well, very good. Well, we'll talk a little bit more. You're here for a concert. That's why we get to talk with you. Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, but I want to hear more about your ministry and what it means to you and some other things that have happened in your life.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
Better Life Broadcasting is a viewer-supported Christian media ministry that offers streaming programming via apps on various devices. Please visit blbn.org to support Better Life or to get more information. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Welcome back. My guest today again is Handerson Pontel. And right before the break, we were talking about hobbies and things. And during the break, you told me you had a pretty significant injury that kind of had me cringing. Share with us about that.
Well, they have this, it's like a program, an event, and it's for like for a good cause. This specific one is called Tough Mudder. It's for like the wounded warrior. So the money you put in there, it goes to help out wounded soldiers.
And Tough Mudder is kind of like an Ironman or something like that?
Yeah, Ironman, a mud run, a Spartan race. There are different types. It's basically just a muddy obstacle course of like 12 miles.
So you like the real fun, active stuff.
It's pretty awesome.
You like to get out there.
Pretty fun. It's a lot of help. It helps you accomplish a lot of your fears. If you have a fear of height, there's going to be an obstacle for heights.
Okay.
Fear of like cold water, you got to be dunked into full of ice and stuff like that.
Is it a team-based event or is it just
you can go in groups.
Okay.
You go in groups, or then you could just do your own personal, like I want to try to do it in my best time, and it is a lot of fun. But also with everything comes risks.
Right.
And we got a chance to do a few of them here in California. And one time I went to Texas to go do a concert there. And our friends there said, hey, the weekend you're here, that Sunday, there's a Tough Mudder. You want to do it with us? And I'm like, oh man, that'd be great. Let's do it. Right. My wife and I prepared, did all our...
Oh, she was doing it also?
Yeah, she's done a few of them. One of the Tough Mudders we did was on our 5th year wedding anniversary. So we had like shirts made. It was a lot of fun. It's thousands of people do it. It's a lot of fun. But this one specific one, we did it in the very last obstacle course. You have to run through these wires of shock. It just shocks you. You just got to get through it.
Oh, it just sounds
And I
so
was-
much fun. Yeah.
And we pay to do that. But I was so focused on trying not to get electrocuted that I hit my knee on like some support beam, and I just opened it up. It was pretty bad. And I fell in the mud, and all these wires are there, and I'm still focused, adrenaline. I just want to get out of this mud and get out of the wires, and then got through it, and I was like, great, race is over, 12 miles in, let's celebrate. And my knee started hurting. I looked down, and I had a big gash. And the first thing I thought to myself, I said, infection. I was like, I know it's going to be bad. And we went and tried to get it clean, and just a long story short, it was just really bad. In Texas, it's so humid that it's a perfect place for bacteria to grow. Now, they need to do these courses in big open fields, and the best place to do it is in, pastures.
Right,
and,
farmland.
Yeah, farmland. Yeah. So, you don't have the best quality mud there, let's say. And unfortunately, I had 5 bacterias and 2 fungi eating my leg.
Oof.
And I ended up having to have 7 surgeries in a very short span of time. And I had renal failure. I ended up needing blood transfusion. It was a moment, it was one of the toughest moments I think I've ever been in my life. Working in the medical field, I knew I wasn't at risk of dying, but I was really scared I was gonna have to lose my leg. Right. So the reason why they kept doing surgery was to try to keep up with the infection, because it just kept growing. So I had a gash on my knee, and now I have this huge scar that goes all the way up my hip. So it's like a reminder. But it's interesting because the doctor would talk to my wife, and he would be like, when did this happen? Like weeks ago? And my wife said, after the first surgery, which was the next day, and she said, no, it happened yesterday. He was very surprised. He's like, he's got necrotic tissue, dead tissue already. Wow. And he said, this is worse than we thought, So I had, it was pretty overwhelming. And I had a lot of churches praying for me. And I think that was an amazing experience to know how many churches got together. I have a church that we go to right now, the Spanish church, and they had every person on the hour praying for me. And I got to meet a lot of them, and they would be like, hey, I was your 3 o'clock in the morning prayer. I would put my alarm. I was your 5 o'clock in the morning prayer. And to have somebody praying for you 24/7 around the clock, it gets you pretty emotional. Yeah. And I have a tough time sometimes talking about it, because it's amazing that people would take the time out of their day or their night sleep to think about somebody else. And that's that intercessory prayer where the Lord really listens, and I feel like he took care of me because of a lot of the prayers, a lot of people just giving positive vibes and communicating, and it was tough. And the doctor told my wife that he's like, I don't think we would be able to do as many surgeries, because that's a lot of surgery in a short time, if your husband wasn't in the best shape of his life. And to do these courses, I mean, this is a 12-mile run. There's 25 obstacles you got to get through. They're tough. Right. It's called a Tough Mudder. And it made me think, we got to always be prepared for what comes our way. Yes, I was prepared physically for this, and it made me think, well, you know what? We need to be prepared spiritually, because you never know when a tough obstacle will come spiritually for us, and we need to be prepared spiritually. We need to be in the best shape of our life spiritually for those tough moments. Right. And it was something that I was like, it hit me really hard to be like, we need to study more. We need to worship more. We need to be better prepared for future events that are going to be coming, where we're going to be trialed and tempted and need to get through. So it was something that it was 6 years ago. Okay. But I will always remember the day. I still have my leg. It's still the correct leg, no fake leg here. Right. And it's a blessing to be here. 1, alive. 2, healthy. I can still run. I can still do sports with my son. Yep. And that's important to me.
And we take these things for granted. About 5 years ago, I blew out my knee rock climbing. And the very first thing I was told was that you're looking at a full knee replacement, and ended up having some doctor friends really recommend, do some physical therapy, because once you go down that route, you're going to be looking at having to do these things over and over again. And that first year was brutal. But I look back at that and I'm so grateful, because now I remember the first time I went water skiing after that and it was stable. And the first time I went snow skiing and it was stable. And just having these opportunities to be thankful and praise God for the things that in the past we took for granted is huge. And knowing that people are helping and praying, it's like your secret weapon. It's to know that you have the support of other people.
It's pretty emotional to know that like there was just a prayer chain. And now with social media, it's a lot easier to get word across. And people were praying from like England and Africa and Iraq and sending messages on social media. And my wife would get them and share them with me. And I would just break down and I would cry and I'd cry. And I'm a glass is half full kind of guy, and I think in life we should be that way.
Yeah. And
I was never able, I feel like I'm a pretty sympathetic person when it comes to injuries. I see it a lot at the hospital, but I don't feel like you have empathy unless you've been through that situation. And, we have to do a lot of surgeries. I have assistant surgeries and stuff, and patients were always nervous and worried, and I can never tell them I know how you feel. Like this is what happened to me, and now after that happened, I'm so much more. I don't know. I feel like I can communicate better with the patient and put them more at ease and calm, because I was able to go through it. Not that I wanted to go through it, but since the Lord put that task in front of me and was able to get me through it, I'm able to share that. And I've had a lot of patients after surgery be like, "Thank you so much. You calmed me down," and I just feel like it was not meant to be, but since it happened, we put it for good use.
Yeah, I love that. I don't believe that God creates these obstacles for us, but I feel like he can use them.
Oh, yeah.
And it can prepare you for what's next. I've been studying a lot about John the Baptist recently, and it makes me think of when the Pharisees were trying to trap him and ask him what you're doing, and he talked about he was preparing the road. And as I extend that, preparing the road, that's what prayer and study does. We don't know what's coming, but if we're putting that work in to trusting God, to have faith, to use things to help us see things glass half full instead of half empty, it prepares us for whatever's coming. It smooths that road for that.
It's ultimately our choice, though. We have the choice to see it in the positive way. We can't be soaking and poor me, and it gets you nowhere.
It gets you nowhere, but it's hard. You look at the last few years with COVID, and some people have been pretty prickly. And so instead of smoothing off those edges, when life happens, like you said, you have a choice. Who am I going to be? Am I going to be like Jesus? Am I going to be full of love, or am I going to be reactive and angry and whatnot? And anytime we have that opportunity, maybe that's why I feel like, are you ever in a place where you're like, really, really, God, do I really have to go through this again? And I think sometimes the answer is because you still have a lot to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to smooth off some of those rough edges.
But doing these concerts, a lot of people think like, oh, it's just play one song after the other. But we sing so many songs, and we have maybe no idea how that song originated. And a lot of the concerts I do have the background or the story of how that song came to be. We have a lot of favorite songs, and to think that some of them, people went through some tough times to be inspired to write that song that we now get to enjoy. But somebody had to be suffering for that song to be written. Like It Is Well With My Soul. A lot of people know that song, and they know the history of it. And that's just one of many songs where people don't realize that it came from a tough time.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That person churned something really tragic to something positive, and that's where that glass is half full kind of thing is. Put it in God's hands. He knows. We don't know the whole story. We're just in the middle of it, but God knows all the way to the end, and we just need to trust that He's going to see us through.
Absolutely, and we have this opportunity to use that again to glorify God.
Amen.
And to just let people see that, bad things happen, terrible things happen, but God can still use it, and He can heal us, and we then get to tell other people the story of what brought us through.
Amen.
I love it. So you go out and you do these concerts, and you're out there encouraging people. Tell me a little bit. it's a pretty busy schedule. You're working full time and you're out doing.
I go wherever.
Yeah.
I don't have like social media. I don't have anything like that. I just go by word of mouth.
Right.
And I was here 2 years ago at the Grants Pass Seventh-day Adventist Church, and John is his name. He called me. He's like, "Hey, you were here. I got your number. We would love to have you again."
Right.
And other people come to the church and they'll hear my concert, and they're visitors, and they'll think, "Hey, my church would love to have you." And
Right.
that's how I go. That's how I go about, and I put it in a schedule. Thankfully, where I work, I make my own schedule, so I can get a weekend off whenever needed.
Right.
And this is our mission. We go. I don't charge anything. A lot of people ask for like accommodations, and I was like, just give me a piano.
Yep.
I'm a happy man. That's
There
my
you go.
ministry. It's the way I give back to the Lord for the gift He gave me.
Amen. So we'll put your contact information. So
please.
If you'd like Henderson to come worship with you, contact him, reach out to him.
Anytime.
We just have a few seconds left. What encouragement would you offer to young musicians who are looking for where God is leading them?
If I had to choose something, it'd be, don't be shy. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. There's no way to get comfortable playing or singing or whatever it is that you're gonna do, saying a poem, making a skit, if you don't get out there and do it. And parents, if you have kids that are studying, stick to it. My parents stuck to it. They didn't give up. A lot of kids who give up on the music is because the parents gave up. Don't give up.
And don't be a barrier.
Do not.
Give the kids an opportunity to participate and be part of the community.
Churches offer that for the kids.
All right.
Offer that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us
having me
today. And we'll see you on the next episode of Better Life Today. Have a wonderful week.